Hello and welcome to Betfred's Football Show. We're underway with the Premier League season, and what a weekend it was to start us with. Once again, Micky Gray is alongside me. And Micky, the fans were back in the stadiums and they were treated to a cracking weekend of football.
Started Friday evening. Absolutely fantastic. What a performance from Brentford. I don't think anybody expected them to do that, apart from the supporters and maybe the manager and the players.
But Arteta certainly didn't.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It wasn't the start that Arsenal wanted. They were part of my treble, so I got that completely wrong. But outstanding. Man United's performance was there for everybody to see. Absolutely fantastic. Liverpool look as if they could be back to the best with the players that have came back. But some really surprise packages as well. Watford being one of those.
Yeah, good result for them against Aston Villa. Now, we started the season Man City odds on. We've only seen one weekend. We've got 37 to go, so maybe class will rise to the top. But after one weekend, there's a big change in the Premier League outright. So City were 4-6 going into it. Odds against 6-5 on the back of one defeat to Tottenham, Micky. But it wasn't a case of just the defeat, was it? It was what happened. It just didn't look like they're ever going to score again. That's the third time now they've been without a goal. First time ever under Pep's reign. They need a number 9. We're not just saying Harry Kane. They need a pivotal striker.
Yeah, they do. I think you can go through one season and pick up a Premier League because of the players that you've got. But you see how quick it is for other sides to work you out now. And I think that's what the Tottenham exactly did. Brilliant performance from them, take nothing away from them. But you're right, I think there was just no killer instinct. I think I was reading something that said they had 33 crosses come into the box and no goals. Now that says something to me that you need a goal poacher, you need somebody who's going to put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. And I think if they don't find that, you've got a couple of weeks too, and there's this big talk of Harry Kane, it's not going to go away, then they're probably not going to be my favourites for the Premier League this season.
Well, they are 6-5 now, as I say. Now, City won the title 5 times. On each occasion, they won the opening game. Only one team has ever lost on the first game, and gone on to win the title. It was Man United on 3 separate occasions. They were impressive. We'll talk about them later. Chelsea as well, a good result. And Liverpool, just like 2 years ago, kick-started their season with a win against Norwich.
Well, the 4 teams that I think we're speaking about now is probably the 4 sides that will take up those Champions League positions come the end of the season. I suppose Leicester might have an argument over that. But I think overall some really good performances. Liverpool looked organised again, didn't they? Looked as if they wanted to score goals. We talked about Salah last week. That's 5-5 at the beginning of the season, which is absolutely sensational from him. But yeah, I mean, out of the teams, you probably look at Manchester City and the question's always going to be there. They need that out-and-out striker. And they got to a point in that game where they were second best, certainly in the second half of the game. I looked at that and you were just crying out and you say, where's the number 9 just to tap in one of these chances?
Yeah, it's missed him. We've got a couple of weeks to get him in. So let's start the weekend with Liverpool's home game against Burnley. As Micky said, we told you last week Mo Salah was the man, wasn't he? He was 4-7 to score anytime, 10-11 in the Wingcast. He notched, making that history, the first player to score in 5 successive opening day games of the season. The 6 is on here, Liverpool, very short to win their first home game of the season. But it was Burnley who ended that incredible 68 game unbeaten streak for Liverpool. Could lightning strike twice?
After the first performance from Burnley, I'm not too sure. And I think the organisation now of Liverpool and the pace going forward, you can see the wing backs all over. On the left-hand side, it's a little bit different to Robertson. But they still looked like the old Liverpool from the 3 years that we saw where they just played some sensational football. What 3 picks up front, whether it's Salah, Jota, Mane or Firmino comes in there, you know what you're going to get. They're going to create opportunities. They've got energy to burn. And I think they've got that burn inside of them saying to themselves, right, OK, last season was a little bit poor, certainly our home form. We've got crowds back in the stadium now. Let's give them something to cheer about.
Yeah, so Liverpool then maybe. I mean, we talked about Mo Salah last week. You say Bobby Firmino, maybe the man this week. He came off the bench to score against Norwich. He got a couple in a friendly against the Spanish side, Osasuna, as well. And he scored in 5 of his last 6 against Sean Dyche's side as well. He's 11-2 to score first, 6-4 anytime, or 7-4 to score in a Liverpool victory. Or you mentioned Liverpool looking really good at the back, Van Dijk back as well. They're very short to win the game, but 4-5 to win 2-0 without conceding. And Burnley do look a bit shot shy.
Yeah, they do. Not many changes, if any, at Burnley. I think you look at the system, it's always that 4-4-2. Needed to get off to a good start in my eyes because last season was a bit of a drab for them, let's be brutally honest with you. You know, they've got to try and get up towards that mid-table if they possibly can. So this is a team that, yes, they've had success with over the past, but I just don't see it. I think the way that Liverpool are going to set up, they're going to be hard to beat. And I just mentioned there about the crowd, and At the minute, it's momentum, Matt. You're talking the beginning of the season, you're thinking, right, okay, if anybody slips up points, these sides now are so strong, you're going to get found out. Manchester City are now on the back foot, and that sounds crazy after one game, but Liverpool, if they can get some momentum going, certainly at home and keep winning football matches, I think they're going to take some stopping.
Yeah, it's a kind start for Liverpool's season as well, run of fixtures. We'll move on to 3 o'clock, Mickey. Big names, big feast, huge expectation for Aston Villa. Kind of fell a little bit flat, didn't it, in that defeat to Wigan. But could Newcastle be the perfect foil for them second weekend?
Well, I think, let's just say, I think it's going to be an exciting season for Newcastle. Either way, because that first game of the season against West Ham really surprised me how open and expansive they were. They looked as if they wanted to try and score goals. I think with the injuries that they've got at the back, Lascelles, they will concede goals. But Aston Villa, I think, and Dean Smith have got a fantastic record against Steve Bruce, whatever team he's been managing. But this Newcastle team, because of the expansiveness, I talk about St Maxim, who I thought was absolutely brilliant last weekend. He's the one who just gives them that spark. He can pick it up on his own 18-yard box and he runs 70 yards with it, and sometimes you create chances, or he might just give the ball away. You're looking at... that's the type of player he is. But then Callum Wilson is the one who's got to score goals for them. If he doesn't, I think they're going to struggle on certain weeks in the Premier League. It's going to be an up and down one for them. Aston Villa, on the other hand, you talk about the changes. Will Watkins, how long is it going to take him before he gets match fit and he's back into that starting 11? You're looking at Danny Ings to probably stick the ball in the back of net for them, but they've got some talented players. They've spent the money, the Jack Grealish money. They've brought in different players. And I think once they get that right balance and that right 11, they will get it right. But Villa Park, crowd there, I think this is a home win for me.
Yeah, you mentioned that at the start, Steve Bruce winless in his last 9 meetings with any Dean Smith side, and Villa unbeaten in the last 6 against Newcastle. So maybe Villa, one of the home bankers for the week. And Danny Ings, you mentioned him as well. 15 times has opened the scoring of his last 35 Premier League goals, 7-2 to get the opener at Villa Park. From the Midlands then, down to London, Crystal Palace taking on Brentford. Palace have failed to win 7 of the last 8 first home games of the Premier League season. And, well, Brentford, they feel like they've got nothing to lose, surely.
No, absolutely. Will you get the same Brentford team playing away from home? I think that's a big question mark. They're obviously new to the Premier League, got off to a brilliant start. Some outstanding performances. Ivan Toney, I thought, was incredible. Although he didn't get the goal, I think he got man of the match in the game. So I think Thomas Frank's got to say to himself, right, okay, at home, we've got the crowd behind us, we can entertain people and we can work hard. And you know what you're going to get? They'll still close you down, they'll use the press, but can they keep clean sheets away from home? If they can do and they can pick up, let's say, 10 or 15 points, I think they might actually be safe come the end of the season. But Crystal Palace, it's all new. Patrick Vieira, the new signings that have come in, you know, what you're going to get from Saha, Mateta, is he going to get goals in this Crystal Palace team? Is he going to get a run in the side? People like Gary Cahill, okay, he's left and he was experienced, maybe he wasn't good enough for the Premier League anymore, but that experience, when it leaves your team, young players playing at the back will switch off at times, they'll make mistakes. This is on a knife edge for me, I can't really call a winner in that game. Maybe
a draw. Brentford, I'm sure, taking a point away from home after that start.
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, we'll move on to City and Norwich as well. I mean, we spoke about City needing that number 9, but should they be more worried about the actual performance, not the defeat, the performance, because they did look a little bit shot shy. They do need that striker, and as I said earlier, the first time that Pep's side have gone 3 games without scoring.
Yeah, and strangely enough, of all the sides, you know, I've spoke to a lot of friends, and they maybe expected a slow start to the season from Man City. Well, when you think about the top sides at the Premier League now, you can't afford to have a slow start.
Pep said about them being undercooked, didn't he?
Yeah, and maybe that was because some of the players who'd been in the Euros, they'd been rested. He had the chance to bring him off the bench. Strange 11 that I thought he picked. I thought they looked really weak down that left-hand side with Ake and Mendy. I don't think you can play those 2 players together ever again. I think there's a mistake in them, I really do. So I think you probably see maybe Zinchenko come back into that back 4 and maybe Ake gets a little bit of a rest, but they need to win this game. Norwich will go into this game and think to themselves, well, everybody thinks they've lost anyway. Let's just go and have a go at them. Timo Pukki will get chances. If he plays on shoulders, and I said with that left-hand side, if he plays on the left-hand side, he will get chances against Man City. I think this could be a scoring game. I think both teams will score, but I just see Man City coming on top.
Yeah, City have a good record against newly promoted sides. So they've scored at least 2 goals in each of their first home games against newly promoted sides. So to score 4 or more goals, 11-8 City. But you just where are they going to come from at the minute? That's the concern. They should have enough, granted. But when they come against the big side, it's going to be a concern, isn't it?
No, absolutely. Well, there's a few things you could look at. I mean, it's Jack Grealish. It's going to be his first home debut, so I'm sure he's going to be looking at that. Raheem Sterling probably needs to play in an England shirt at the moment because that's where his best form has been. Because he got man-marked against Spurs, no doubt about it. He didn't really show us the form he had done in the Euros, but they've still got quality all over. I mean, whether it's one of the forward players or even Diaz coming up from the back and scoring from set pieces or something, they'll create chances, but how many goals can they score?
That is a question. Then City and Norwich, a 3 o'clock kickoff. We'll look at Leeds versus Everton next. I mean, everyone waxes lyrical about Marcelo Bielsa, and rightly so for what he's achieved. But there's got to be a point where it comes to it and you think he needs to start changing his tactics. That's twice he's been to Old Trafford. That's 11 goals conceded in 2 games. It needs to be a decision where he can surely change his tactics to try and stop the rot as is, because they were awful at the back.
Well, he does, and there was one game last season, and it was actually against Man United when they played them at Ellen Road when they drew the game after the thumping of 6-2 earlier on in the season. Will he do that against Everton? I very much doubt it, because you've got a crowd that are going to be in that stadium that are going to expect exciting football on the front foot. They want to see goals. Everton went there last season, they beat them 2-1. They won on my 3. I've picked a treble and they won on my 3 to cause an upset. Because I think Rafa will organise. You talk about 2 managers who will organise a team to be hard to beat. I think Rafa away from home will set up his team hard to beat. They'll try and catch them on the counter-attack with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. 17 crosses, I think, last weekend that they put in. So they're playing a different way. And I think with that, Calvert-Lewin will create opportunities. And from set pieces and wide crosses, that's where I think Leeds look really susceptible, a little bit vulnerable. They'll create chances themselves, but I think Rafa might just come out on top against my old team here.
I mean, you'll have Ayling, you'll have Dallas bombing on, you'd imagine leaving gaps for them, and that's where they'll be exploiting, especially out wide.
Absolutely. Well, that's what they're going to try and have to capitalise on. I think you had to look, and I was questioning Everton because their home form last season was very poor. They've proved me wrong. They went behind. They obviously got the 3 points at the weekend. They want to try and do that against Leeds United, which is going to be difficult. I still think Leeds are going to have a very good season. But I don't know, I've got a strange feeling. I think Everton might just catch them on the hop here. Leeds will push forward. And as you mentioned there before, with those gaps that they leave, and you've got a striker like Calvert-Lewin, early on last season, he was on fire, wasn't he? And I think that's going to be the same this time around.
Right, 2 sides who both won their opening games with Brighton and Watford. It was Watford's away form that saw them relegated a couple of seasons ago. I think it took them, they were into double figures of games before they had 3 points last time. They're already up and running though this season. Brighton unbeaten in 5 at home though. Odds on favourites for this. Do you think this is a home banker?
Well, their home form's got to be key for Brighton and Graham Potter this season. I think they were a little bit lacklustre in front of goal at times. You know, they go through spells of 5 and 6 weeks where they just can't find the back of the net. And they're conceding goals as well. Mopai has got to stay fit and he's got to keep that confidence and that form going forward into the next few games and score goals. Watford, surprise package. Xisco set them up. I thought they were excellent going forward. Sarri, Dennis and Sema looked as if they had so much pace. They looked as if they create chances whenever they got the opportunity to get that ball wide. So watch out for them this season. I do think Brighton will win this game. But I think watch out for Watford this season. I think they could be a really good surprise package and certainly could mess up that top 10.
Interesting. Keep an eye on Brighton then. Maybe scoring goals this season. Right, look forward to Sunday's games then. We've got a couple at 2 o'clock. We're going to talk about Manchester United. First of all, a good start for them to say against Leeds. I'm a little bit wary to get too carried away because we saw it last season. Leeds set up perfectly for a United side, didn't they?
Well, they did this season and last season, which is why they got so many goals against them. But take nothing away from some of the performances. I thought Pogba was absolutely outstanding. He gets his critics, and rightly so, at some times of the season because he looks a little bit leggy at times, or looks as if he doesn't care. But that was a performance. That was a world-class performance, and I think he deserves all the credit that's been coming his way this week. Fernandes, I mean, what can you say?
Absolutely
sensation. He really is. The runs that he makes, I didn't actually think he was as quick as he was, but he's finishing, whether it's left foot, right foot, and he just finds these little pockets, and when he's in them you think, right, is that too tight of an angle? But he scores goals. Great hat-trick. But I think also one player I'd like to mention was James. He doesn't get the plaudits because he's not the big name. Everybody's talking about Sancho coming into the team, and you've got Martial, you've got Rashford. But I thought his pace was absolutely unbelievable, and he just causes a problem whenever he gets the ball. He had a decent Euros when they were there, First couple of games, I thought he was Wales' best player. But they look the real deal, Man United. I have to say, and look, it's early doors. It's one game, as you just said there before. They're playing away. It's Southampton, who will make it hard to break them down. But I just think that 11 that they've got look good enough to beat anybody.
Yeah, Daniel James, lots of pace. His final ball worries me, doesn't it?
That's the problem.
Across the road.
That's that is the problem.
But one man who did make his debut at the weekend was Jadon Sancho. And could we find another one in a United shirt make his debut this weekend in the defender, Raphael Varane? United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is looking forward to working with the French defender.
Sir Alex, the gaffer, he always used to say, enjoy yourself, express yourself. And you have to, you've got to enjoy the privilege of the pressure of playing in front, and the responsibility of playing in front of 75,000 Man United supporters and millions behind TV, watching in front of the TV. But to get there, to smile, you've got to do the hard work as well. And that was one of my worries, not worry. I knew they were going to work hard, but fitness levels, I wasn't 100% sure on. Because, you know, Leeds are they are the fittest team. They are the most high-intensity team, the sprinting team. But the way we cope with that and put the foundation for a performance, that's important. And that has to be with us. Movement, with and without the ball. And then you can smile towards the end. It was a nice moment for him. And it was a nice moment for the fans as well. Them together, they look forward to seeing him. He's looking forward to seeing his teammates. So I'm looking forward to working with him. Top professional, follow his career throughout, and you just see the way he conducts himself and the way he lives his life. So all the chats I've had with him and the club's had with him, you know, we've got a top human being there as well as a top player.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? Raphael Varane in the centre circle, and that got the crowd going as well. And
it did.
You know, that would have gone into the players, and hence they put on that great performance.
If you're signing players like that, Matt, what Man United have probably not had over the last couple of seasons is they've not had the players in that dressing room with huge amount of medals, which they had done years before that. Varane's won everything. Paul Pogba, you could probably put in that bracket with the World Cups and, you know, the stuff that he'd done in Italy. But now they've got that. He just earns respect as soon as he walks through a door. I bet Ole cannot wait to get his new signings on that pitch as quick as he possibly can. Varane being one of them. What that does for Lindelof and Eric Bailly moving forward, I'm not too sure. You've got Jadon Sancho obviously coming off the bench. I think exciting times for Manchester United, and the momentum that they can get at the beginning of the season can take them a long way. I actually interviewed Ole before the game last week, and he was so excited about the squad of players that he put together. I tried to ask him the question, is that the finish of the signings? Didn't really get an answer out of him, but I think if not, he's so happy with that squad that he's put together right now.
Well, so looking fresh and revitalised was the Portuguese attacking midfielder Bruno Fernandes, a hat-trick on the opening day, 17-10, just a little bit less than 7-4. He scores again in United victory this weekend.
You can't put it past him because of the positions that he takes up. He's very hard to mark. He looks as if he's got that hunger about him. We've seen it since day one when he came and wore a Manchester United shirt. He's the threat for me, and obviously they've got that pace up front. Whatever 2 or 3 he picks up front, and with Pogba, Fernandes just sitting in those little pockets, they can play different systems, they can play different positions. I think it's looking rosy for Manchester United. So yeah, I'd certainly have a look at Fernandes for scoring again. Yeah,
usually it's quite hard for them to back it up, the performance. They tend to go and draw their next game after a good performance. But they're heading to the South Coast. A word on Southampton as well. Took the lead against Everton, and people thinking, might be in for a bit of a shock here because many expect them to have a tough season ahead.
I've said about Southampton, I think for 45 minutes they're an excellent team. They do everything right. They work their socks off. But I think when they come out at half-time, they've run out of steam. It's the way that Hasenhüttl gets his side to set up. I think, they've got some quality players. Armstrong got himself on the score sheet debut, which is great for him. He's a little live away up front. I'm not saying he's any Danny Ings. Only time will tell if he's going to score goals every single week, which he's done in the Championship. But I think you look at Ward-Prowse, there's still a question mark over him. Is he going to be a Southampton player? Is he going to be moving on? But, they just need a settled team. But I think Manchester United, with that performance, and then let's not forget about their away performances last season. They were absolutely first class. I think, 23, 24 games unbeaten or something they are. Sensational. And if they can keep that up and then start winning at Old Trafford again, which obviously we've seen on the first day against Leeds United, then that's why we're saying they've got to be title contenders.
I want to see so many things and more things. I think we are only in the start of our work together. It was the first game. We had good games in preseason, and the boys are working really hard. I think we have to be able to create and build a foundation that can take us through all the season. Of course, when you work with young players and they respond to the challenge of stepping up in such a huge club as Tottenham, it can only make us proud. But the credit is for the academy. I think the work of the academy is to build players for the first team. So every player that joined the first team and plays with Tottenham, it's a win. It's a victory for us as a club. Really proud of the way the players work, and very thankful of the support of the fans. Was huge the way they helped the team till the final minute, helping the boys and we are very thankful for it.
I think this could be a really interesting game, and going back to his old side, of course, after that big win against Manchester City, but Wolves were banging that game against Leicester, weren't they, for the entirety? I mean, I thought they'll struggle this season, but they're lucky not to come away with something. Well,
again, it's all new, and I think when there's a fresh manager comes in through the door, as we've got for both sides here, you're wondering what you're going to get. I still think Wolves have got a couple of injuries. I think Neto is huge for them. They need to get him back fit and in that starting 11, but I saw an interview with Jimenez saying that he wasn't involved in set pieces and stuff over the pre-season games and stuff. So I worry about that a little bit. There was a couple of times that Traore could have played him in, and you saw the frustration with his arms and stuff. So he just wants to get that first goal. He wants to get on the score sheet as quick as he possibly can. I think you're right about Wolves. You're not sure what you're going to get from them this season with all the changes that has happened. But Nuno and Tottenham, what a start. Absolutely brilliant. They've got to try and find a formula of not playing with Harry Kane, whether he's going to be a Spurs player or whether he's going to be Man City or somewhere else. They found that against Manchester City. I thought they were absolutely excellent. I thought Son, Lucas Moura were brilliant. The pace that they showed going forward looked as if they had a bit of a bite about them, which I think's been lacking from Tottenham for a couple of seasons. And if they can get that balance right, they could have a brilliant season, and I've wrote them off for the next two moving forward, but you never know, they might have £150 million in a treasure chest for them to go out and bring in the players that Nuno Santo wants to bring in. But as for starts go, they couldn't have got any better for him. Wolves, he's going to go back, he'll get a fantastic reception, but I think you're right. I think Wolves need to play a system that suits the squad that they've got, and that's a 5 for me. It never works with a 4. They tried it 4 or 5 times last season, didn't work for them. But I think Traore has got to start to find his goal-scoring boots. He gets himself into so many great positions. And then you just think to yourself, just slotted in the back of the net, and then you just try something out of the ordinary. He could be an outstanding player from front to back, but there's just something missing from him.
Well, 5 of the last 6 metres between this pair have seen both teams to score the last 2. So under 2.5 goals, maybe one apiece at 5-1, and a share of the spoils at Molineux. The big game of the weekend, though, is the London derby at the Emirates. It's Arsenal taking on Chelsea. I mean, where do we go with Arteta's side? I mean, they're bringing in Odegaard, who's on loan last season. They've got Ramsdale as well between the sticks for, I think it's 25 million now. But with the greatest respect to them, they're just even making signs a bit like a mid-table side, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, is there a plan in place for Arteta? It just seems like they're throwing mud at the wall and hoping some will stick.
If there's a plan in place for them at the moment, Matt, I think it's a 2 or 3 year plan. And he won't get that time. He will not get that time. Not with those Arsenal supporters who are they're buying for him at the moment. They cannot wait for them to do something wrong to criticise the team. We've seen it too many times now. And I think Mikel Arteta, when you see him in front of camera, I think he's saying the right things, but the team are not doing exactly what he's wanting them to do.
He's got a worse record than Unai Emery, and he was,
Well, exactly. I think he walks through the door and they think, OK, he's worked with Pep Guardiola. We're going to have an Arsenal team that are going to play like Manchester City. It has not worked. He's had players that he's had to try and get rid of, experienced players. What was wrong with Aubameyang and Lacazette on Friday evening? I do not know. Why are they not in the starting 11? Two of your youngest players are your best performers on Friday night. Apart from that, you could have dragged the rest of them off because nothing came from them whatsoever. They've got no fight. They've got no leaders. And I'm being kind here. I really am. I'm being kind to Arsenal because that was not an Arsenal performance. I really don't know what an Arsenal performance is these days. What you're going to get.
Defeat.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the record actually, was it the last 2 or 3 years, is very good against Chelsea.
Yeah, only lost one of the last 5.
But if you're going into that game after that awful performance, for everybody to up their game 25-35% against this Chelsea team that are going to run this title down till the very, very last minute. And then Lukaku signing for them as well.
Well, I was just about to say, I mean, they've been bullied by Ivan Toney last week, and now probably the world's biggest bully is coming to town this weekend in Lukaku, and he's going to want to prove a point.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, I think he'll probably go down now as maybe a lot of people's favourites to finish top scorer, because he'll get chances in this Chelsea team. Whether it's him scoring the goals or somebody else, but he will create chances. He'll be given opportunities to score goals. And I just don't think this back line of Arsenal can handle him, his power, and the rest of the quality that Chelsea have got behind them. Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, I do fear if it's pray for Arsenal time. # pray for Arsenal. But Chelsea's for a 100% start to the season?
Yeah, without a doubt. And let's not forget, I think Arsenal have got Man City after this game as well, haven't they? So it could be an awful start for Arteta. But yeah, Chelsea, I mean, they look the real deal. I mean, you look at the players that can actually come into that start 11 as well. The experience of Thiago. We talk about Lukaku as well. Kante. It's a fantastic... Champions League winners, they're obviously full of confidence. And I know the record Arsenal with Chelsea over the last couple of seasons is pretty decent, but you can't look away from Chelsea. You just really can't.
No, we've got the Monday night game as well, which we'll talk about shortly. Let's have a look at the long list then for the Premier League this weekend. We'll get Micky to pick out a couple. He's actually done a treble for us. You mentioned Everton. Could be a bit of a surprise. 2-1 they are at Leeds. Micky, what was a couple of the others that you thought were worth siding with this weekend?
Well, I definitely look at Everton because I think they went to Elland Road, albeit without supporters there last season, and beat them 2-1. I think Tottenham could be strong this weekend against Wolves. I know you talk about the setup with Wolves and playing at home for the first time, but I just liked what I saw from them last weekend, and I think you might get the same again away from home. And I've also had a look at Aston Villa against Newcastle. I think Aston Villa can get themselves back to winning ways. I think it's going to be a tough start for Newcastle. I do think they'll be all right this season. I don't think they're going to get relegated. I think it's going to be up and down with them. But that was my three: Everton, Aston Villa and Tottenham.
There we are, then. Little treble for Micky. We'll try and have a look at that shortly. In fact, there it is on screen. Look at that, as if by magic. Micky's treble then. Everton, Villa and Spurs. A tenner on that. £126.30p return. Not bad. Over 11.5 to 1 treble. And Micky. So there's one game we have left off. We're going to talk about Hammers taking on Leicester on Monday night. Both sides victorious in their opening game. The Hammers had to do it the hard way. And Leicester rode the luck at times as well.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie Vardy obviously it was a brilliant finish, I have to say. I mean, what a goal. I mean, you talk about a poacher centre forward. He had no right to actually get in front of the centre half, but absolutely had. Should we be surprised because he's done it so many times? What is 126 or 27 goals I think he's got now in the Premier League? But it was brilliant, and it's all about the final third of the field. Can you stick the ball in the back of the net? Jamie Vardy did it against Wolves. West Ham, yes, came from behind. I love Antonio. He played right back, centre half. Has he played goalkeeper? I don't know.
Probably somewhere. I think he's been cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. He's just a powerhouse. He really is. I mean, you look at the players. Ben Rama, we wanted to see better from him. I thought it was a really good performance. Fornals, you've got Soucek and Rice backing them up as well. I think, can they keep all the Rice? It looks like they're going to do so now. So David Moyes will be happy. He's now got a settled squad. I don't think they'll really add over the next couple of weeks. Maybe one. If any, they might bring in a centre-half. I think they've been talking about Kurt Zouma. I think there's 2 or 3 clubs have been talking about him. But I think similar season for West Ham and similar for Leicester City. I think out the two sides in front of us, tough one to call who's going to win this game. But Leicester are the ones who could probably chase down that top 4 again. Yeah,
well, that's how tough it is because it's 6-4 each of 2 that game, and the draw 5-2 could be a play of the draw. It's a real good game though to look forward to on Monday night. Well, lots to look forward to before them. Have a look at Micky's treble. See if you agree with him. Everton, Aston Villa and Spurs pays over 11.5 to 1. They are £126 back for a £10 stake. Well, if it's half as good as it was on week 1, Micky, for another cracking weekend of Premier League action. The highlight on Super Sunday is, of course, Arsenal taking on Chelsea. We have you back in this weekend, though. The very best of luck.